The gates opened at midnight, and everyone knew, not just in Rome, everywhere. Across the empire, from Britain to North Africa, people heard the news and understood the same terrible truth. It's over. Not might be over, not could be over. Over. For 800 years, Rome had been untouchable, the city at the center of the world, the heart of an empire spanning continents, the symbol of civilization itself. Then, on August 24th, 410 AD, someone opened the gates. Alaric and his Visigoths walked in, and for 3 days they took what they wanted. The physical damage was limited. Churches were protected. Most people survived. But the psychological damage? Absolute. This is the story of the moment a civilization finally understood it was dying, and what that moment reveals about the one we might be living through now. The city that couldn't fall. 800 years. That's how long it had been since a foreign army entered Rome. Not 8 decades, 8 centuries. Entire civilizations had risen and fallen in that time. Persia conquered and defeated, Carthage destroyed, Greece absorbed. But Rome, eternal. By 410 AD, Romans didn't believe Rome was strong. They believed Rome was inevitable, part of the natural order. Like the sun rising, like seasons changing, Rome would always be there, until it wasn't. The empire that was already dead. Here's what makes 410 so haunting. Rome was already dying. For over a century, the Western Empire had been collapsing. Barbarian kingdoms controlled imperial territory. The economy was broken. The army was mostly Germanic mercenaries. Emperors were puppets. Everyone could see it. But as long as the city stood, as long as Rome itself remained unconquered, people could pretend. This is temporary. Rome always recovers. It's happened before. The city was the lie they told themselves, the proof that everything would be fine. The night the gates opened, Alaric wasn't a barbarian chief. He was a Roman general. He'd commanded Roman troops, defended Roman territory. He'd negotiated for years, asking for land, pay, recognition. The empire kept refusing, so he marched on Rome. For weeks, he besieged the city. Then, on the night of August 24th, 410, someone opened the gates. Historians still debate who. A senator, slaves hoping for freedom, simple betrayal. It doesn't matter. What matters is this. The gates opened, and for the first time in 800 years, a foreign army walked into Rome. The 3 days. The Visigoths plundered for 3 days. Gold, silver, treasures. They ransacked palaces. They burned buildings. But Alaric was Christian. He ordered churches protected. He forbade mass murder. Compared to what could have happened, it was restrained. But that didn't matter, because the damage wasn't physical, it was psychological. Rome, the eternal city, the heart of the world, the center of civilization, had fallen. The moment everyone knew, news spread like fire across the empire. In North Africa, St. Augustine heard. In Bethlehem, St. Jerome wrote, "My voice sticks in my throat, and sobs choke my utterance. The city which had taken the whole world was itself taken." This wasn't military analysis. This was grief. The realization that the world, the only world anyone had known, was ending. Not might end, was ending. This is what makes 410 different from every other disaster. The crisis of the 3rd century was worse economically. The plague of Cyprian killed more people. Later sacks would be more violent. But 410 was the moment when everyone stopped pretending, when temporary crisis became permanent decline, the collective illusion shattered, the questions that changed. Before 410, Romans asked, when will Rome recover? After 410, they asked, what comes after Rome? Before, how do we restore the empire? After, how do we survive its collapse? The psychological shift was complete. The Western Roman Empire limped on for 66 more years, but it was already dead. When the last emperor was deposed in 476, Barely anyone noticed, because in people's minds, the empire had already ended back in 410. When the gates opened, what came after? Rome's death wasn't the end of civilization, it was a transformation. People stopped thinking of themselves as Romans and became Franks, Goths, Burgundians. The church became the continuity, local strongmen became the authority, Europe fragmented, the Middle Ages began, not because civilization ended, but because it reorganized around what was left, new kingdoms, new identities, new ways of living, built on Roman ruins. The moment we're living through, we live in a world that feels permanent. Democracy, globalization, the international order, these things feel like the natural state of reality, the way Rome felt to Romans. But nothing is permanent, and there's always a moment, a specific event, when everyone suddenly realizes that what seemed eternal was always fragile. For Rome, it was the night the gates opened. What will it be for us? Maybe it's already happened, maybe it's still coming, but when it arrives, we'll know. The same way Romans knew, not because someone announces it, but because we'll feel it. The psychological break. The moment when we stop asking, when will things get back to normal, and start asking, what comes after? The question. Could you recognize that moment? Could you tell the difference between a temporary crisis and permanent change? The Romans couldn't. For decades, they told themselves things would get better, that Rome was eternal, until they couldn't pretend anymore. The gates opened. 800 years of history ended in one night, not because of the physical damage, but because of what it meant. The proof was gone. The lie they'd told themselves, that Rome couldn't fall, died that night, and with it, the world they knew. The lesson, the death of a civilization, is not the end of humanity. It's the end of one way of organizing the world and the beginning of another. Painful, disorienting, terrifying, but not the end. Rome fell, but humanity endured. New kingdoms rose from its ruins. New cultures emerged. New ideas flourished. The death of Rome gave birth to medieval Europe, the Renaissance, the modern world. Civilizations die, people adapt, life continues, the gates. There will be a moment for our civilization, a night when the gates open, when we collectively realize that our Rome isn't coming back. Maybe you'll see it coming, maybe it'll surprise you, but when it happens, remember this: the death of a civilization doesn't mean the end. It means transformation, and the question won't be whether we survive, it'll be, what do we build from what remains? August 24th, 410 AD, the night the gates opened. The moment a civilization finally understood it was dying. The world ended, and a new one began.